Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be letting you know why you might want to sell your stocks in the Super Conqueror and focus on a vehicle like this. Why do you even need a Super Conqueror when there's something like a T125 in the game? Now look, that might be a bit of an extreme opinion. Sure, even with the nerfs that are going to be happening to the Super Conqueror in about 2 weeks from now, it's not exactly going to become awful. It'll still be a very decent vehicle, especially when it gets onto that wonderful ridgeline position. But with the nerf to its rate of fire and also to its durability in the form of its hit points, it's definitely going to make tanks that are similar to the Super Conqueror, but at least in my opinion, oh so much more fun, and I think will be more influential in the next patch. And one of the candidates is the T110E5. This is a tier 10 American heavy tank that has just been an absolute banger inside the game since it was first released. At one point, Wargaming buffed this vehicle so much that it was the best tier 10 heavy tank, probably just the best tier 10 tank inside the game. Wargaming buffed the weak point on top of this vehicle, and then that made it just outrageously good. You would have to fire at the flattest part of its weak point with gold to stand much of a chance of being able to handle this thing's armor. Wargaming saw that this was a problem, and after about 6 months of this thing being the king of the matchmaker, they did nerf it. But in today's replay, you're going to see just how awesome the T110E5 is with its grade A damage per minute, next patch much better damage per minute than the Super Conqueror, and why its armor is just so much more fun to play around with, and how its side scraping capacity, you can over angle it because of its boat shaped hull. It bows out like this over the side, which means that you can bounce a variety of AP shells, but not all of them. Interestingly enough, you see that heat round that the 60 TP fired at me, and unfortunately the heat round there, the 705, that actually hit my front rather than my side. The heat round that the 60 TP fired was just paying to lose. And that is because the T110E5 actually has horrible side armor with regards to its thickness all along the lower half of the hull. It's only 44 millimeters thick. And so that means that if you have a 155mm caliber gun or a 150mm caliber gun in the form of the 60 TP, if he was firing AP, he could overmatch me. Now the secret to the T110E5 is literally to angle like this. Well, that would be over-angling in a variety of vehicles, but with this one you can bait your opponents into shooting your side armor, making them look silly because they think, oh, he's over-angling, I can easily be able to get him. But you're actually baiting them with that boat-shaped side. But it's ironic that the 60 TP could have paid 4 times less with the shells to guarantee going in if they just knew the mechanics of this vehicle. So kind of hoping that you're playing against gold noobs when they've got large caliber guns, when you are side scraping in your T110E5. So we've got a couple of really cheeky shots there using this interesting hull model of the BZ68 in front of us. And now, or should I say the BZ58? No, it is a 68 naming policy inside World of Tanks. And that 60 TP whiff sieve shell, I go for his tracks, and I actually think that that's a bit of a misplay. I was trying to lock him in place with my armor piercing shells, but considering he's using a durability device, I basically just wasted my time there. No point in shooting tracks unless there's nothing better to do when they are using a durability device. And as we can see, my shell wasn't able to go into the 60 TP there, but luckily the VZ behind me, the VZ51, gets 2 great shots into the tracked 60 TP, and then we managed to finish them off. I'm just hoping that the VZ will survive, but unfortunately the 113 GFT finished them off. Interestingly, the VZ actually gave me a thank you before I was going to go give him a thank you as well. It really allowed me to get through that engagement. And we're up to 5,800 damage now, just taking on all comers here. Multiple high tier vehicles, now dealing with some of the lower tier tanks. And I'm thinking, should I shoot this pattern? Nah, I'm not going to shoot the pattern. The T32 is the one who's penning me. The pattern is only doing very small amounts of HE damage. So all I need to do is keep my frontal armor towards him. They're going to try and ram me. Probably more useful than the HE shells they were firing there. And this is where the T110E5 just feels so much better tthan the Super Conqueror. If I was playing the Super Conqueror here, I would have to worry about my lower plate. When you don't have the luxury of just sitting on a ridge line, the T110E5 absolutely destroys the Super Conqueror, not just with how good it is, but with how fun it feels. The Tiger II probably presumed I was still going to be engaging the back of that Object 705A, and I'm going to go get in front of this T-125 to face hug him. Hope he's not going to shoot my weak point and finish them off with a very nice roll there for 408, slightly above average. And whoo-hoo-hoo, 8,000 damage in 5 minutes and 5 frags as well. This was a game. Oh dear. T-124 catches me, ammo-racks me as well, and I don't have my repair kit now, although he did manage to just proc my adrenaline rush, so maybe I can still go after this T-125. We're going to put a second round right through his lower plate, and we're going to have to nurse our wounds here a little bit. Luckily, our repair kit comes back. We're going to get our ammo rack back in action, and let's just let the chips fall where they may, and boy, that was a seriously good outcome for where the chips fell, as we ammo rack the T-124 for 811 damage, and I was just thinking, 10k, 10k, and there's 7,000 hit points left on the enemy team. Is this going to be a new damage record for Uncle QuickyBaby? My previous record, I think, is about like 10,800, 10,900 in the Kampfpanzer, one of the assembly shop tanks. And so right now, I was just praying that the enemy team still had all of their hit points over towards the east, although remember, they won't update until we get inside their render distance when they're spotted. And I was seeing a healthy Scorpion, I was seeing a healthy 1390, licking my lips. Just how much higher can we manage to push this damage total? Just hoping that 1390 is going to mess up. All I need is one more shell to be able to reach that magical 10k. But remember, we're down to 162 hit points here. And unfortunately, I get lit up by a tank I didn't expect. And here's the shell for the 10k. And oh no, the whiff of the shell. Maybe I'm feeling the pressure right now. The adrenaline is high. It was working well on the other flank until I actually noticed what we'd managed to achieve in that very short period. And now we've got to watch out. We get lit up probably from the Scorpion G there, possibly from this S1 at the back. And now we've got only heat rounds left after using all of the AP rounds in this tank. It's not often that you have to do 9,000 damage. And that should be an impossible bounce. But no, it will actually ricochet against 85 degrees of angled armor. And no, I have to admit, this was one of the most frustrating heartbreaks of the year. I wanted to get stuck in, wanted to see if we could push for a new damage record, but it just wasn't to be. I was very cheeky, some would argue greedy, and that frustrating ricochet from the S1, because heat rounds can't overmatch an S1. They will penetrate pretty much every angle up to 85 degrees, and then they will ricochet off because the angles get so extreme even on thin armor like that. If I had an AP round, it would have overmatched his 30 millimeters of armor, and we would have most likely gone above the 10k. Alas, poor T110E5 burned so brightly early, and then I guess I got a little bit greedy trying to get that damage in and expose my turret to the T103. But the T110E5, just an absolute monster. And now that Wargaming are going to be nerfing the Super Conqueror in a couple of weeks, I thoroughly recommend this tank. You really can't go wrong with it. It's an absolute awesome vehicle, especially its side-scraping capability, because of how that hull bows out on the side. Let me just show you exactly what I mean. You see how it wedges out here along this part of the hull? That means that you can over-angle it like this and have some real funky auto ricochet angles. And while they might be able to catch certain parts of your armor, this is just a great bait. Then you're hiding your lower plate, your opponents won't figure out what to do, maybe they miss the weak point on top, but just remember that the whole of this part of the lower hull on this vehicle is only 44 millimeters. And so all 150 millimeter caliber guns can shoot all around this area, and it will always go in. And it looks like the community are already starting to catch up to this fact that maybe the T110E5 is going to be the new meta pick next patch. It currently has a slightly better win ratio over the last 30 days than the Super Conqueror. And that's something that's only going to become more prevalent with the nerf that's happening to that tank. And as I've already said, the Super Conqueror isn't going to become useless. It will still be the better tank on the ridgeline, considering how much better the lower plate on the T110E5 feels and how troll the armor can be compared to the Super Conqueror's super easy, very weak lower plate to pen. This tank is definitely going to be my preferred weapon of choice in the next patch. So, this was a great game until the heartbreak in the T125. 9,658 damage dealt in pretty much about 6 minutes. Gives us a high caliber, 6 kills gives us a top gun, and because we didn't fire any heat until we ran out of AP, we make 35,000 credits profit. What more can you want from an absolute beast of a tank? Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Sunday, it's time for the World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase later on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, you've all voted for the FE4005 Stage 2. So come along as I work my way up towards the highest alpha damage tank in the game, which usually ends up trolling me very significantly. Anyway, really looking forward to seeing you all live right now. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.